Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Welcome to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. Today's episode is The Wedding Wear. They brought their own bartender. That's right, you heard me. Today is they brought their own bartender. And before you get too confused, thinking, wait, isn't she an officiant? What are we talking about bartenders for? Let me explain a little bit. So, if you're planning a courthouse wedding, you typically work with a judge or a justice of the peace, and courthouse elopements are really quick, efficient, and they often don't allow for things like personal vows or multiple witnesses or flexibility in scheduling. You kind of show up with your license or even picking up your license there. You then have a set scheduled time. You go in, the judge, the 3 legal lines are done. Sometimes there's a ring exchange, sometimes there's not. And that's it. It is signed, it's filed, in and out. However, people who elect to do elopements through independent officiants like myself, that gives them a little more flexibility. So my elopement packages aren't as elaborate as the full ceremonies, but they do offer levels of personalization. You select a script, we could add in some personal vows, just keeping it kind of still as simple as you'd like it to be, but nothing too crazy. Basically, there's more customization than you'd get at a standard courthouse ceremony, but not as much as a traditional wedding package. I'm going to do a whole episode on different packages and how I do pricing, but that's for another day. So let's get back to what the heck does Amanda mean by they brought their own bartender? So we're going to get into the story. I had a bride who called and asked me if I would meet her at the Brooks County Courthouse for her elopement. Okay, I got to thinking, sure, I can meet you there and then follow you somewhere else, right? And I asked her, okay, where exactly do you want the wedding? I'd been in Reading for, 15 years, and it can be a little hard to navigate or find parking places in town. So, right, park in the courthouse parking lot, walk over 2 blocks. I was expecting I would be told of a house, a restaurant, a park, but she kept insisting that I was going to marry them in the courthouse, which is not a place I marry people because the judges marry people in courthouses. So I tried to explain in a couple different ways that even though I am able to officiate weddings, it is not cool, nor would I be able to perform a ceremony inside the courthouse because that falls under the jurisdiction of the judges. If she wanted to be married there, that's totally fine. She would just have to go through the courthouse procedure with their judge. And if she wanted me as her officiant, we'd have to find another location. Explained this a few different times, and she really wasn't getting it, so I had to put it in different terms. And I'm like, all right, let's try it like this. Let's say I'm a bartender, and you want me to bartend your event. You booked a hall or a room or something, and I show up. But it turns out you didn't really book a hall or a room. We're actually at an operating, functioning bar that already has bartenders. I can't, shouldn't, and won't go behind the bar to bartend at somebody else's bar. So that analogy clicked for her that in a courthouse where there's already judges and justices of the peace who are already doing elopements, I'm not the gal to show up, step on their toes, and try to do one. We ended up choosing a restaurant instead, which was great. Flash forward not even a week later, and I got back-to-back calls from 2 couples who wanted weddings at the Luzerne County Courthouse atrium. And I was really getting ready to do my analogy again of you can't bring your own bartender to somebody else's bar speech when I learned something new, because as I have learned with weddings, every county's different, every wedding's different, everything is different, and Luzerne County is very different. Since COVID, they've opened up their gorgeous atrium for wedding ceremonies and special events. And unlike most courthouses, they require that you bring your own officiant because their judges are too busy with court appointments. Okay, I finally found a bar that would let me be the bartender. It's a beautiful venue, Luzerne County Courthouse atrium in northeastern Pennsylvania. Stunning high ceilings, grand staircases, gorgeous marble, antique lighting, and an absolute dream for small and intimate ceremonies. Now, no venue is perfect. So, for anyone listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds like a great venue, I want to use it. Just here's a couple things to think about if you consider this space or a similarly structured space for your wedding. The acoustics. There's a huge, huge echo. In fact, they have limits on the music that you can play, the sound level of music. And you really have to think about how much sound carries in a space like this. Additionally, it is still a working courthouse. Ceremonies are held there during the weekday at working hours. There are office workers around. It can get a little chaotic if you have a fair amount of guests or if there's children who like to explore, or the one wedding I did there where the flower girl had a little meltdown. Just being a little bit more cognizant on it. What are some takeaways from the experience I would share? For couples, know what you want in your ceremony and where you might have some flexibility. If you are, I want to elope at a courthouse, then you most likely are not getting to pick your officiant and you're most likely not going to have a ton of customization in the ceremony. And if that's what you want, totally fine. If you were hoping to have, oh, I want 15 people and I'd like a setting that could be a courthouse, but I'm open to a couple other things, if there's other factors that are more important than the courthouse location, be prepared that you might have to go outside of a courthouse for it. Think about the space that you pick and what the aesthetics are. I love the atrium. I've been back 5 times now. It's such a hidden gem. I do like that I get to bartend in someone else's bar. And it's gorgeous, but definitely think about the sound and the space, seating, time of day, what that might mean for your guests if they have to arrive in at 2:00 to a courthouse in kind of the middle of nowhere, right along the river. It's really, really pretty. And just thinking about the timing you need to get ready. This is not a space where you can get ready on site. You show up ready to go. And there's no back rooms or side closets. So if you didn't want to see your spouse before the wedding, probably not a place that would work for. For officiants or others in the wedding industry, some advice would just definitely be research new venues before making assumptions. I was really, really ready to tell them, no, you can't bring your own bartender. But it's right on the website. It is very, very clear. Additionally, when you do have to explain something to a couple of why something may or may not work, make sure that you're clear in your explanation. And if it does take coming up with an interesting analogy to make it click, I highly recommend. And just be open to new experiences. I have never turned down a ceremony because it was at a new place and I didn't know how it would go. As I said, I've now done 5 weddings at the Luzerne County Courthouse, and each one has been intimate and sentimental, well received. I've got a couple of clients who've said that I can share some more details soon, so I can be working on that there. But I wanted to ask, have you ever encountered a situation where you essentially had to, in my analogy, bring your own bartender to someone else's bar? I know retired judges officiate ceremonies outside the courthouse, and they can actually be individuals that you could book for Luzerne County. But I never thought that I would be able to officiate inside one. Definitely something I should have added to the bucket list. Never thought to even do it, and there I did it. I'd love to hear more of your stories. Have you been at a courthouse wedding? Was it big, small? Did you going in think, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to do this, and it was actually really streamlined? Just definitely drop me a line. Let me know some of the cool things that you've seen or been a part of. Don't forget to follow along with this episode, and I look forward to hanging out with you next time on The Wedding Wear. Thank you for listening to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some inspiration or insight for your own special day. This podcast is hosted on Buzzsprout and can be found on all major platforms. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, and share to help us reach even more listeners who might laugh a little at The Wedding Wear. For the links referenced in the show, visit Linktree at Officiating by Amanda. You can also follow the business on Facebook, Wedding Wire, and The Knot to stay up to date on everything going on. If you have a question you'd like me to answer on the podcast, just send an email to theweddingwherepodcast@gmail.com. And if you're ready to inquire about officiating services for your own big day, you can reach me at officiatingbyamanda@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, this has been Amanda.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.